Hey folks, it's Nate, and it's time to go back to the drawing board. If you didn't catch my last video, which I have linked in the description below, I'm doing a couple of videos based on Narwhal's last The Writing Room stream. I will link that below too, in case you're interested. I only caught about the last 10 minutes of that stream. I haven't had time to go back and watch the whole thing yet. But I did hear a couple of things that interested me, and kind of wanted to use them as a springboard to discuss some thoughts, anyways. One of those things, which I've already done a video on, was on why stealing ideas is easy and fun. You can find a link to that in the description as well. Another video that I wanted to do was just inspired by how Narwhal mentioned that it's good to be around other creative people, and I don't know how many people who watch his channel or watch my channel are interested in creative endeavors of their own. But if you are, I just wanted to reiterate how incredibly important that is as a thing that, well, it serves a lot of purposes. So let's just go through them. Why do you want to be around other creative people? Well, the first and hopefully most obvious reason is that it's because you just want to be around people who share your interests. I mean, it everyone wants that. There's nothing wrong with saying it. There's nothing wrong with seeking out company of people who share your interests. Another reason is because it really keeps the creative juices flowing. Um, I know that when I sit down to draw or to write or to do anything like that, one of the hardest things can often be just getting started. It can be really, really hard sometimes. You need to. I mean, I'll sit down to write and I'll just bang out a paragraph just to have words down on the page, and then I'll look at them and I'll be like, "That's crap," and I'll delete it all. Um, but because I've started, I've kind of primed the pump, and after that I can actually write something that I like. Um, so having other creative people around you, that can actually uh, serve the same purpose. Like if their creative juices are already going, when you're around them, you can get yours going that much easier, because instead of having just your own crappy, I don't want to do this today ideas to bounce off of, you actually have good, fresh, creative ideas coming from them. And then they inspire you, and you riff on that, and then they riff on your ideas, and pretty soon you've snowballed into a set of really, hopefully, good creative ideas. Um, the third thing is, like, it's a having other creative people around kind of keeps you going. It keeps you innovating. It keeps you creating. I've known some people who spent like a huge chunk of their creative lives just working on one idea, and they never had anything else, um, and they just worked on that one idea for the longest time. And then as people started, looking at that idea and they critiqued that idea, not only did they improve that one idea, but as they started to, play off of it and make suggestions and all this other stuff, um, new ideas would then come to them. So it's good to get out of your own head and have your ideas looked at by other people, and they'll just give you new ideas, and you'll be able to make new stories, new concepts, new themes, and they're never all going to fit in whatever it was you were working on at the time. So then you have new springboards to explore new ideas, um, and you have connections to help you, dig into those ideas and see what they're all about. Um, Now, it can be really hard to find creative people to feed your creative juices. And I know that the internet, at a glance, it's a really great place for that. And that's true. Like, Narwhal has his streams. Um, I found that Doug Tenaple's Drawing Bigfoot Bill streams are also a great source of artistic inspiration, and just because he has so many wonderful creative people on there, bouncing ideas back and forth and things like that. Um, and I can't. I have a harder time sitting through Comicsgate live streams, but listening to like the pitches that people make on there, that can kind of get your juices moving. But all of these venues have the problem that they're somewhat impersonal. At least if you're not one of the people who's actually on the stream, if you're just hanging out in the chat. So finding sources of local creative exposure, where you can go in person, assuming you can't get you're not a big enough a name, or you're not lucky enough to get on one of the Comicsgate live streams or something like that. You want to look around locally, and there's a surprising, if you know what you're looking for, there's a surprising number of avenues where you can be around other creative people. I know for me, I do local live theater. I find theater, for starters, I enjoy live theater. So yeah, do a creative endeavor you enjoy. And I should know, it doesn't always have to be related to writing or art if that's what you really want to do. Just being around other creative people frequently is all you need to really get the juices going. And most creative people are open to new experiences and new forms of creativity and art. So they will most likely be happy to hear about your own artistic endeavors, and to give you new and fresh perspectives. So I do live theater. I found live theater to be not only fun, but really inspiring. The people I've met there have been great for me, and I've been very fortunate in that there are a lot of local theater groups that are fairly toxic environments. There can be a lot of ego, a lot of drama in them, and maybe that's not what you're looking for. But don't just write it off because it can be that way. You got to go out and you got to try these opportunities out before you knock them. So yeah, I do local theater. Not only has that, I think, helped my art, because I've learned more about how people physically express themselves, but I've gotten I've developed much more tolerance to feedback. When your director says you're doing something and you're not selling your what you're trying to sell to the audience, you really have to listen to that, and they will tell you very bluntly these things. So that's helped a lot too. And those are things that I think you will get from just about any artistic group you join. So yeah, just seek out creative people. Of course, you don't want to stay in an environment that's highly toxic. I've actually joined writers groups before, and the people there were not always interested in writing. Sometimes, I would come with a thing I had written that month, and I would be the only one who had written anything, and no one had read what I had written and sent to them for critique. So there was no critique, and I mean, they weren't really bad people, but the environment was not very much about writing. And yeah, I eventually stopped going to that. So, I mean, not every experience is going to be good. I did have some interpersonal conflict while I was in that group as well. Some of that was my fault. I think some of it was not my fault. Plenty of blame to go around, but eventually, I just decided, you know what, this is not getting me any fresh creative insight. It's not it's not whole. It doesn't feel like um, I'm cultivating, really meaningful relationships there. So I kind of stepped out of it, and um, a couple years later, I joined a local theater group that I work with, and that's been much better for me. Even though um, I don't use a whole lot of the skills I pick up in theater in writing or drawing. Um, more in art, really. Theater does teach you a lot about how people communicate in realistic and meaningful ways, um, if you really dig into it, which is uh, what I did when I started, really looking at the dialogue and things like that. And I think dialogue was one of my weakest skills before I started theater, and now I feel like it's probably one of my stronger writing skills. So yeah, but back to the point. The point is, get around other creative people. The creative energy will feed you. It will make you more enthusiastic about your projects. Hopefully, you will meet people who will take an interest in and support your work. Um, you'll get some local contacts, and yeah, just really get out there, dig into it. Now, I know for a lot of artists who are introverted, that can be difficult. Um, look for groups that are already established to start off. Your public library is a good place to look. Some art supply stores will also have boards where you can try and get in contact with other artists. Um, and things like that. If you go online and you look for writers groups, there are places where they're listed. Um, so don't feel like you have to get all this started yourself, but you do really need to be around other creative people. Feed off that energy and feed your energy back into that, and really help. Um, will really help you grow. So I know that's not really like super useful conceptually, but it is, I think, if you do it, it will make a huge difference. So that's about all. Take care.